Hi guys, welcome back to Journey Teachers. Today we have Niharika with us. So Niharika, would you like to begin with a brief introduction about you?
Yeah, hi everyone, and thank you, Kriti, for having me here. It's genuinely an honor on just talking about my journey is something that I'm very excited about. I am Niharika Chaudhary, and I've been creating content for the past 6 months, and it's everything around social awareness, social issues, politics, culture, news, something that I'm very passionate about, something that interests me, and I share it across. I am otherwise, I mean, not exactly professionally, but academically, I am a second year student doing BA in public administration honors. And side by side, I try to manage whatsoever knowledge I gain, I try to share it on social media.
That's definitely great and we're glad to have you here. So let's begin with the very first question. What does a process of content creation actually look like?
Also, I mean, simply put, I don't think it's a process. It's an entire. It's become a part of my life these days because the moment I wake up in the morning, that's when I know that I have to start a research for a video. So it's the night before that I think of an idea, and the very next morning I try to research. It takes on an average 10 hours for me to research for a 60 seconds reel, and then post that I write the entire script. Then it's the recording, editing. So this entire process, I think it's become like a job for me, but something that I enjoy. It's a very honestly, it's a very lovely combination as long as you don't get exhausted. So this process is very long. It depends on what kind of content you create. With regards to my informative create content, it takes me a lot of time to actually go through all of these phases to finally delivering the product and posting it online. So that is how the process looks like. It's a lot. Then it takes like 4 hours to edit. So an entire day to create a 60 seconds reel and then to post it, then the engagement, the entire anticipation of how the reel is going to work. So it's a process. I think right to say it's also a process, but then it's become a part of my day, a part of my life, very lately.
Definitely, the video we see of 60 seconds actually take 10 hours for you to actually shoot, edit, publish, and whatnot. So, can you give me a little insight into these processes and these phases which you have talked about?
Like I said, with regards to an idea, number one, it's to consider that the content creation, this entire market, it's just so saturated. Everybody, the one idea you think of, I think 10 people might have already made something on that. So you need to have that sort of edge over people, and it's so saturated कि कुछ uniqueness चाहिए ही चाहिए. Which is why number one, getting an idea and then executing it. So that idea part is very difficult कि किस idea पर आगे build up करना है. So number one, that idea, when I get, it's supposed to be a lot of research again to find what to create a video on. And then the second phase of the research takes a lot of time because it's supposed to be very extensive. You want people to have as much, you want to add value to people's feeds, and just as much value as you can add. So that research part is also very long. I think in those 10 hours is something that I say without breaks. So it's a very long process, and a lot of and also one very amazing thing that I've noted down in these past few days is because my exams are going on, and this was supposed to be something that I do as a hobby, creating content. But as soon as I'm done with studying for my exams, I go to create content, and that's also sort of like a study for me, nothing that actually rejuvenates, or let's say something that would make me feel relaxed. So that research part is a lot of study. It's probably an entire book of like 500 pages that I have to read only to sum up everything in 60 minutes, in 60 seconds. So that is a very tricky part. Then when I get to recording, that's something I really like doing, speaking in front of the camera. So that is not the that's not something that I need to really talk about. It just takes an hour or so. And then the editing is very tricky because I am not an editor by profession, and there are a lot of people who are editing and it's something that they choose as something they would like to do further in life, so they put their heart and soul into it. So I take 4 hours because I'm not tech savvy, and then I'm not someone who has a lot of experience in that. And I'd also say to people listening, editing is a very complex process. Do not take it lightly. Whatever is visually appealing is something that people choose to click on, number one. And that's how your content reaches people. So editing is that part. And then when you post it, there's a lot of engagement going on. Then there's a lot of anticipation, responding to comments, and just planning for the next video starts right after you post. So all of these processes taken separately are also a process in their own. So that's how it is, very briefly for me. Although I could like go on and on about it because I've been doing it for a while now. But I think that's about it. That's how the process is.
Definitely. So you are definitely a one woman army, because you are doing all of these processes on your own, and managing your college along with the content creation. That is really incredible for sure. So what are some of the opportunities that you have been you have created for yourself and you have got in during this process of content creation?
There's honestly, subjectively, there's always this opportunity for growth also, because you understand that you create one video, the next one you create is always supposed to be better, and that's how you work for it too. You learn from your own experiences, your own mistakes, what works on social media, what doesn't. So professionally, and sort of like the growth meter keeps growing, keeps increasing. But with regards to other opportunities, like in the materialistic world, I'd say it has to be you get. I mean, monetarily, I would not really talk about it here because it takes a lot of time to reach that level where you get paid enough, and then you can probably consider it a profession. So that takes a lot of time, and I've not reached there. I'm probably not 10% there. But with other opportunities, it's been that you collaborate with brands, you collaborate with other creators. You also create opportunities in the way that, number one, this podcast, this interview. So I get invited to various podcasts and interviews, and there I learn about myself and also how I can grow. I get feedback from the other person. We have this conversation where I get surprised by myself because I reflect on my journey. And then you get a lot of exposure also, because once you're a part of these interviews and podcasts, they get forward, and then that sort of exposure, then reaching out to so many people. I wouldn't have ever imagined that 60,000 people would be listening to me speak. And imagined in the physical world, even if there are 500 people in front of you listening to you carefully, it's a lot. It's such a big achievement. And now when you have an audience of 60,000 who listen to your reels, and then there are reels that go like 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, you try to imagine that number in your mind. So that opportunity is also in the form of exposure that you have. And that exposure, if somebody likes you, maybe they give you another opportunity. So it keeps growing. It's like a ladder. And then you reach somewhere that's probably unending. There's no final destination for content creation. But it's just that this opportunity, this exposure you have on social media, it's so immense. And that's how I consider as an opportunity for me right now. Monetarily, maybe later.
Definitely, whatever you are doing in terms of content creation definitely arises and creates a lot of opportunities for oneself, maybe interviews, podcasts, and everything around. And you get a lot of recognition from people watching your videos, and those numbers do matter a lot when you are putting a lot of efforts into what you are doing. So, according to Tehuri, my next question is like, why shouldn't, how can one create their own podcast? What would be your suggestion on that?
I am not probably somebody who should you should listen to with regards to a podcast, because I don't have a podcast. So I don't think I'm somebody who should do that. But the only thing is that I've always wanted to start a podcast. So I've done a few, I've read a few articles and done like a little research on that. So I can only tell, if you want to do a podcast, if you want to run a podcast, and it's not like a temporary hobby, but if you want to do this for the longer goal, ki haan, this is something I like talking, I like having conversations, and I have a lot of interest in whatever topic or field you choose, then you should go for a podcast. How then you go about it? आप Audible पे डालते हो, Spotify पे start करते हो. How you do it is something that you would have to read about, and you have to do your own research. But if you want to start it, I think you should, if you're considering कि long goal में मुझे ये करना पसंद है. Because a lot of people are starting podcasts as like something they would do for a week, a month, see no views, see no listeners added, and then they'd stop. So if you really want to do it, because if you're sure that you're somebody good at talking, good with conversations, and number one, you have that interest to talk about that whatever topic you choose and whatever your niche is, then you should go for it. But with regards to the other process, I don't think I'm the right person to comment on.
Definitely, you have pointed out the reason for starting a podcast so rightly that if you're really interested and this is what you want to do, you should then only go ahead with it.
100.
Okay, so from where do you get the inspiration to watch some myths which we often see in your videos?
My father. One answer. My father. He's a social activist here in our area, and he puts a lot. Everything he observes and he feels this should be changed, he puts it out. He tries to do it, on field. किसी को letter लिख दिया to authorities कि ये चीज सही नहीं है and you should do something about it. Then he appeals to people that we have as a community. We have a lot of power, to exert that sort of pressure and to demand for our rights, to demand for justice. So he keeps doing that. Even if he sees like somebody cutting off a tree, he would go and ask कि किसी का order है or you're doing it illegally. And if he sees garbage on the road, he would pick it up and put it aside, put it in a bin. And if he sees a lot of garbage, he would, talk to the MC, write to the MC कि here garbage cleaning सही से नहीं हो रही है. So all of these things I see that हम देख रहे हैं किसी चीज को and we feel it needs to be changed, something needs to be done about it, that India is not going forward in the right direction in terms of our area. So administration is not doing something that it's supposed to do. Then that sort of action and that change mindset that you have, that I've gotten from my father. So whenever I observe something not being right and something that I think people should know, I put it on social media. So number one, has my inspiration has to be my father.
Definitely, that itself is so inspiring that you have been observing him and what all steps he has taken for the environment, for the society. So that's really commendable. So, what do you do in case your opinions, offend others?
They often do. I can't help it. If I say I like cricket and somebody thinks that that's offensive, and only because it's my personal liking, I said it, and they feel it's bad because why do I not like hockey? I don't think I should be justifying why I don't like hockey and why I like cricket. It's just my thing. I think opinions are personal and nobody should really take them to heart unless there's something offensive meant to be offensive. I don't think I should be saying and ki I don't like Hinduism. That's bad. I mean, if you don't like it, just don't say anything about it. You can't. There are sentiments attached to people, and there are people very connected to their own beliefs. I don't think you should hurt them and try to be offensive in that way. So, वो wisdom वाली बात है that you need to be wise enough to know where is this distinction between freedom of speech and offending somebody deliberately, or even sometimes by mistake when you're not aware about certain things. So that I keep in mind, that I'm not supposed to speak about somebody's faith. I'm not supposed to speak ill about somebody's character. And there is like a list of things that subconsciously कि ये चीजें सही नहीं है. So I try not to do that. But if for something else somebody gets offended for no reason, like very recently I had this reel about Finland's education system, and I posted and I said, I asked a question: should India take lessons from Finland regarding the education system? So people simply got offended कि हमारा education system, you're trying to talk ill about our education system, and being an Indian you're doing this and stuff like that. Everybody got offended. I don't care, because then number one, I'm talking something, there are lessons to learn from every country. And if I'm talking about that, does not mean that I am not Indian enough, or I don't love my country. I think loving your country has to come with the flaws and the pros that you have about your country, and accepting them, and try to do something about the cons or something about the drawbacks of the education system. So if then people got offended, I thought, okay, this is not something that I should be bothered with or should be concerned about कि मुझे अब change कर लेना चाहिए अपना pattern or something. That's also to the listeners, to everybody who's watching, people will not agree with you on a lot of things, and a lot of people will not agree with you on a lot of things. So itna, when you're not offending people and it's your right, it's your choice, you should respect that, number one, and then people will respect it. So nothing to really care about when ऐसे ही लोग offend हो जाए for no reason. And that's what I do. Like, that sort of chill attitude is very necessary, especially when you're in content creation.
That is so true, when the need is there, of course, we have to cater to people's needs as well. But, for anything and everything, we cannot always look out for who is getting
Yeah.
offended and, thinking continuously about that.
Yeah.
So, how do you think that this as a career can help? Because there are journalists and news channels almost doing the same thing. So, what are your thoughts on this?
I did not want to be a journalist because I'm more interested in public administration, bureaucracy, and political science. But I thought if I can work as, it's not even journalism what I'm doing. If I can learn constantly, because I have this curiosity for learning new things, and if I have that sort of the thing in me to learn every moment and every day, and if I share it on social media, combining it with one of my favorite things to do, which is speak in front of the camera or speak in front of people, to a to a large audience, then I thought I could combine these both and start something of my own like that. So I did, but I don't think as a career it's any bad, because now social media per content creation is a very good career. If you are passionate about it and you want to do it for a longer run, it's a very good career. So when I like something and when I'm passionate about it, I can turn it into my profession. Why not? So I don't want to label myself as a journalist or what are you doing? Are you being a public speaker or something like that? I think I'm a content creator on social media, and whatever I create, if I dance, then I'm a dancer, but I'm also a content creator, number one, because I'm creating content. So here I'm not being a journalist, but I'm creating content that probably a journalist would do. So I don't want to make that distinction, but I'm creating content and doing something I like to do. I don't exactly care about, or maybe like I'm not very concerned about what title this should have.
Right, definitely. That is so true that you can actually take benefits of this career and not to think about outcomes. Basically, just enjoy the process. Okay.
Yeah.
So, just out of curiosity, what is the significance of you having a bindi always in our videos and for now as well?
um I like it, has to be number one, but also I love the fusion that it can create, like the fusion between the fusion of Indian and Western wear. So whatever I wear, I try to include the bindi, obviously because I like it and I think it suits me. But a deeper reason has to be because I love that fusion. When I wear Western, then I'm so sure that I have to wear a bindi. I'm wearing it with Indian wear or not is my choice, but with Western wear, I try to include it because of that fusion. And also, I think it symbolizes fluidity in so many ways. So that is something that I've thought about after I started wearing bindi, and people have asked me ki kyun dalte ho. But initially, why I started it is because I genuinely like it.
Okay, perfect. So, moving on to the last question, what would be your advice for the young generation and especially to the people watching to start content creation or educate themselves on their own in various topics which you often cover GK, politics, culture, anything and everything around?
I think for content creation, I'd say that patience is the key. Consistency is definitely one. Consistency, everybody says it's very important, but patience also. While you're being consistent, you might think that you're putting in a lot of effort, but the results wo nahi aa rahe hain. But you'll realize that later those do come only if you keep improving every day and you try to understand your own strategy. ऐसा नहीं है कि you are posting every day, you post for 1,000 days and then you have no results, so you feel कि ये fail हो गया है. That could also be because you're not improving or you're not reflecting कि क्या गलत जा रहा है and क्या सही जा रहा है. So consistency, patience, and accountability, these are the three things that I consider like those primary things when you're doing content creation. Ki patience is very important. You shouldn't give up too soon if you like the profession and if you really want to do it. Don't give up too soon. stay very consistent. Consistency could mean posting 5 days a week. Consistency could also mean posting one day a week and then continuing with this. So that is important in accountability. कि देखना है कि what is working and what is not working, and then to try to improve every day, because if you're not improving there will be zero growth. So these are the three things that were very important in my own content creation journey. Initially, when I was posting, I used to get like 1500 2000 views on a reel, and just no likes, like 200 150 200 likes. So I used to get very discouraged. But then I read this post on LinkedIn where somebody said that their content creation journey took 7 years, and they got there, I don't know, the million views after 7 years. So I was like, this is passion. If you really like doing something, you work continuously. You do not care about results so much as I did about followers and views and all of those like count. So that is inspiring to me ki if you really like it, you should continue with this and not really think about the output. Focus more on the input. What are you putting in, and what is the quality of your own effort? So those three things I'd say to people about educating yourself. If you want to learn more about culture, about history, curiosity is the only thing that can help you, because Google is like a huge resource. वो एक library है, and
Right.
there you can find anything and everything. Then there are books, so many books that you can read. It's just that people probably lack will, like I did probably maybe a year or two back. But I've come to realize that when you have curiosity and that will to learn, you will always be able to find ways on how you can learn new things. तो YouTube है, Instagram भी है, you can always follow me and find new things to learn. बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. Just have that curiosity and always that sort of mindset कि मुझे कुछ नया learn करना है, and then you'll be able to learn it. So that's my 2 cents on this question.
Definitely, it definitely makes sense, and it was really insightful for the people watching to actually get, what does the career of content creation looks like, and what they can expect from it, and what they need to put in it to stay consistent. Thank you so much, Niharika, for coming onto here, and it was wonderful talking to you.
It was wonderful too. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much to everybody who's listening and who's come till here. Thank you. It's genuinely an honor.
How did you like the interview questions, and how did you find me as a host?
Amazing, so well written and so precise. I love when it's supposed to be. It's like a short but a very crisp and insightful talk. So I loved it. And you're a beautiful host. Obviously, you know it yourself. So thank you so much.